was starting off my real estate career, and some of that still exists. That's why Bright MLS is being formed. I'm going to tell you more about that in just a moment. But anyway, I've been in the business a whole bunch of years. I've been with Trent since 2010. I was with a company called CoreLogic before that. Realist, that company Realist, that used to be the MLS for Philly and Bucks County and a bunch of areas in New York, became CoreLogic. And CoreLogic is this gigantic company who, matter of fact, built the MLS system that you use. They mostly built this Matrix product, and we changed it a lot because we wanted to sort of put the trend imprint on it. But anyway, long story short, I'm glad to be with you guys here today. Thanks for coming. So let me explain what happened exactly. So what happened is Trent started talking to this MLS down in Maryland called MRIS. So MRIS is kind of down in that yellow area over here. MRIS is very similar MLS to Trend. Did a bunch of counties, handled most of the state of Maryland, parts of Northern Virginia, even a few counties in West Virginia too. Trend, of course, parts of Pennsylvania, parts of Delaware, parts of New Jersey. So we talked to them about, hey, let's get together here and try to fix these border issues. You know, the idea is that if you're in a county like Chester County, so here's Chester County right over here. You know, here we are in Bucks County. All this darker blue is kind of Trend and MRIS. So Trend is all around here, MRIS is down here. Here's Bucks County, but if you're in Chester County, the next county over is a different MLS. So you not only have to be a member of Trend, you have to be a member of the Keystone MLS, which is Lancaster and Lebanon County. If you're in the middle of that area, if you're out here in central Pennsylvania, you have to be a member of 3 MLSs to do business. And you have to use 3 different systems. And you have to pay 3 different times. You guys don't like paying your Trend bill, right? Can you imagine having to pay 3 Trend bills? That's kind of what's going on here. So, same thing down here in the MRIS area. They didn't have all of the state of Maryland. They had most of it, but they didn't have this area down here called the Coastal MLS. That's Ocean City, Maryland. Just above that, Sussex County, Delaware. Like Trend does Newcastle and Kent County, Delaware. So Newcastle is Wilmington, Bear, those areas. Kent is Dover. And then below that, Sussex County is Rehoboth, Bethany Beach, you know, the shore areas. So, long story short, if you're in Dover, Delaware, you had to be a member of 2 different MLSs. And if you're licensed in Maryland, which most of them are, you have to be a member of 3 different MLSs. That's what we were trying to fix. So, basically, what happened is we invited everyone around us. All the light blue areas that you see on the screen here said yes. So, Keystone MLS is Lancaster and Lebanon. GHAR is the Greater Harrisburg Association, so it's that whole Harrisburg area, Dauphin. I've been out there running around training these guys on this new system. So yesterday I was in Mifflin town, wherever that is, so I can tell you it's really far. RAAC is the Realtor Association of York and Adams County, so that's York and a bunch of other areas out there. Gettysburg is out there. So all the guys in the light blue said yes. Coastal said yes. Sussex County Association said yes, and even in New Jersey, Cumberland County, New Jersey said yes, which borders Atlantic. But there's a lot of coastal New Jersey that didn't say yes. Neither did Lehigh Valley MLS. They're up here in like the orange. That's Allentown, Bethlehem. It's a shame, they said no. And so their members are just kind of finding out about this. They're saying, this is really dumb that you guys did not join the larger group. Because think about it, in Cape May County, New Jersey, you know, who buys in Cape May? People from Bucks County, right? It's silly. It's really silly. We think it will go away at some point, but it hasn't yet. So anyway, this is the new lay of the land. This big orange blob is all of us now. So it's one big contiguous area, talking about over 85,000 agents that are going to be part of this MLS, covering 6 states plus Washington, D.C. Over 20 million people live in this area. That's part of the new MLS. And over 12 million parcels of public records data are going to get handled. You should know all about this already because we've been telling you a lot on the news stories, and we've been emailing you. But if you don't feel like you're up to speed, go out to brightmls.com. Matter of fact, pretty shortly, you're going to start going to brightmls.com. The trendmls.com is going to go away. Brightmls.com is where you'll go to log into the new system. And if you want to read a little bit more and just be up to date on things, go out to Facebook and like the Bright MLS page. So I mentioned that we're going to convert you again. We are going to convert you again. It's going to probably happen in January or February. It's going to be before the spring market. And we're going to convert all your contacts again, all of that. But like I mentioned at the very outset here, the system that you're using now is pretty much the same system that's Bright MLS. The biggest change in Bright MLS is the listing management was updated. So the listing management program, where you go to put your listings in or change your price, edit an expiration date, that's like the oldest part of our program. It's not the old trend that we took you away from about a year ago. It's the old trend before that. So, long story short, that needed to be updated. We were going to do that anyway. But Bright MLS, really, it has a different home page, different colors. But once you get into the search screens, you'll recognize it. It looks exactly like it does now. Auto email, printing, portal. The portal, by the way, way better. Who can tell me what the portal is? Who knows what the portal is right now in trend? Yeah. It's where your clients go. That's really what the portal is all about. The portal is where your client is going when you email them something. And it's very important that you have your head wrapped around the portal, by the way. I've talked to Debbie about coming in and just doing a class on the portal, because most of you probably don't go in the portal. You have Trend, Bright, whatever we're calling ourselves now. Trend is the portal on steroids. That's the agent version of everything. But the portal is like a client version of the MLS, and they can't do as much as you can. We don't want them to do as much as you can, but we want to give them cool access. The point really is that in the new portal, in the new Bright MLS, the portal is way better. There's way more views that the client can get of the properties. The search criteria that they can use to search for properties is more, because I don't know if you've ever been in the portal. Has anybody here ever been in their own portal? Wow, very few of you. Matter of fact, I would put on your to-do list today that if you have not taken like a search from Trend and emailed properties to yourself, to your junk email address, so that you can go into your own portal, that's something you should do today. Because if you don't know what the client is seeing, then you're probably not telling about the client's, you're not telling the client about the cool stuff that's on the portal. And I'll tell you one example. I know we're going to talk about public records and prospecting here in a moment, but the point is, your clients are really frustrated. They're frustrated when they go to Zillow and they find 10 properties that they want to see, and they come to you. What's your name?
Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. So I'm a buyer. I go on Zillow because I'm watching commercials all the time. Zillow's always on television, and you got to give it to Zillow. They do make people interested in home ownership. That's good. The problem is I go on Zillow and I see 6 properties in Bucks County, and I want to go see them. I come to Jeff and I say, hey, Jeff, I found a bunch of properties on Zillow. And Jeff's like, oh. All right, there you go. And then you go into the MLS, and what do you find?
4 of them are pending, 1 of them is settled, and maybe 1 is available.
Yeah, the statuses are all wrong, they're not really all for sale. The point is, if you have a client coming to you saying, I found properties on Zillow, that's somebody that you didn't tell you didn't tell them about the portal correctly. Because in the portal, they can search themselves. They can go into the portal and build their own search if they want. And when they find properties and they're active, they're really active because they're the exact same status that's in the MLS. And so when a client goes into the portal now and they search, there's very limited criteria. It's beds, baths, price, some other stuff. It didn't match what the client can do when they go to Zillow or Realtor.com or Trulia. So this new portal in Bright MLS is way, way cool. It gives the client a few more search parameters, and the portal itself looks more modern. Your clients are going to want to use that. That's how you're going to keep them away from Zillow. So anyway, get ready for Bright MLS, and really we know you're still going to call us Trend for a while, and that's okay. Matter of fact, the new name for my title, I think I have it back here. No, I guess I don't. I'm the Customer Success Champion. So I don't know what that means exactly. We used to be account executives, but I can't seem to say it without putting my arms in the air. So anyway, I'm really, my job is to come out here and help you guys be productive with the system. From the standpoint of somebody that sold real estate, I know what it's like to be in a commission-only job and have to sell. And I've been selling for years. I'm sort of out of that role now at this point, but I want to share some stuff with you that I think will help you anytime I come in here. But today we're going to talk about prospecting. Before I dive into prospecting, I just want to let you know there's a new app called HomeSnap. If you haven't grabbed it yet, it is the new mobile app for Trend, really for Bright. We had an app called Go Trend, and it mostly worked, but I had a lot of agents coming up to me over the last few years saying, hey Mike, I put an address in and I can't find the property by address. Like, wow, that's not good. You have to be able to at least search by address. We looked at the HomeSnap app, which was the mobile app that MRIS down in Maryland had. And we looked at that app and we compared it to GoTrend, and we were like, wow, this thing's way better than what we had. So we jettisoned GoTrend. If you have it now, and I know you guys have a KW app, God bless you. I know you have a KW app, we don't want to take you away from that, but if you want to use the official Trend mobile app, it's HomeSnap, so grab it. We have been emailing you incessantly about it for months, so if you've gotten those emails and haven't acted, just go to your app store and download HomeSnap. If you have any questions about setting up, just contact our support center, we'll help you out. But it's really cool, it's got everything in it you would imagine a mobile app should have. You can search by address, you can put in a town, you can search near me. You can bring up all the property information. You can set up an appointment right from the app. Showing time's built right into it. It also has a really cool thing in there called a safety timer. Like September was Agent Security Month. You know, some agents get injured and killed sometimes. It's a nasty subject, but one of the things that we wanted to do with GoTrend was put some type of security feature in it, and they sort of didn't want to do it. So because we didn't build the app. So HomeSnap has built into it this thing called a safety timer, where you're about to walk into a vacant property and some sketchy buyer pulls up and you're about to disappear into this house for 20 minutes with this person. You can turn on this safety timer. It attaches you to the listing that you're in, and you can set this timer for 15, 20 minutes, and if you don't turn it off, it will send a distress alert to whoever you set up as your emergency contact. And I have used it, by the way, just in demoing it, where I've had HomeSnap connected to the TV, and my emergency contact is my wife Rose, and I forgot to turn it off. And then Rose gets this distress alert, which, you know, when you see this distress alert, it's like, wow, something's wrong. And I still have my phone connected to the TV, and she calls, and everyone's like, oh, Rose is calling. Tell me you forgot to turn this thing off. So that's a really cool feature of this app too. So if you haven't grabbed HomeSnap, go out and check it out. It's a really cool app. If you go out to the Trend homepage, there are articles about it. You can read these articles, and it'll tell you how to do it step by step. Any questions about anything so far? How are we doing so far, right? Okay, cool. So let's dive in. What I'm going to talk about today is really creating a listing opportunity pipeline for yourself. So one of the problems this year, and really for parts of last year too, is there's not enough listings. There's been a low listing inventory, and what it has created is this seller's market where the seller really has a lot of control over what's going on. You know, a new listing comes on the market. If it's a good listing, there's a lot of offers, and the buyer has to come up with an above asking price offer. It's really because there's not enough listings. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But what I want to talk about today is the idea of creating opportunities for yourself to get listings by proactively reaching out to current property owners. These are not people that have listed they're not for sale now, but we're going to try to go out and old school style, try to get people to say, yes, I would like to know the value of my home. Like the real idea behind this is if you have, let's say, a postcard, and you want to send a postcard out to somebody that says, hey, how would you like to know the value of your home in today's marketplace? That's what we're talking about here. So you shouldn't stop any of the stuff you're doing now. Like, I'm sure that you guys market to your sphere of influence. All this stuff, by the way, is Real Estate 101. Everybody that you know has to know that you're in the real estate business for you to be successful in this business. You also want to go after referrals. You know, referrals can be tricky, but it's really just a matter of keeping in touch with people. The National Association of Realtors does this survey every year called the NAR Profile of Buyers and Sellers. Anybody here ever read that or see it? Check it out if you haven't seen it. Pretty much every year, if you go to the National Association of Realtors website or realtor.com, they'll put out a PDF with a lot of the questions that, these survey questions that buyers and sellers will answer. One of the questions they asked to anybody that did a transaction during the previous year is this your first real estate transaction? So if somebody says yes, then they don't ask them the next question. But if they said, no, this is not my first real estate transaction, they'll ask them, did you use the same agent that you used on your first real estate transaction? And most people say, no, I did not use the same agent. Then the ones that say, yes, I did use the same agent, they ask them another question. Why did you use the same agent? What's the answer? They kept in touch with them. It's the simplest, dumbest answer, but that's all it is. Keeping in touch with your previous client, somebody that you just sold a house to. is really important to get referral business, because now you want to get their brother, their uncle, their kid, all of that kind of stuff. I referred business to Howard Gottlieb, work out of this office? Yeah, Howard I know Howard really well. Howard, is Howard here, by the way? He's not here. Howard sold a house to my daughter, because I got out of this. My daughter Lindsay bought a house a couple of years ago. I referred the business to Howard. You know, long story short, you should be going after referrals. There's a really cool feature in the current version of the MLS that you use now, where you can set up an auto email, but instead of sending the stuff daily to the client, you can send them something once a month. So, you know, if you sell a house to somebody, what's your name? Sue. Hey, so Sue sells a house to me, and if at the settlement table you asked me, hey Mike, would it be okay if I sent you all the transactions that happen in your neighborhood and all the new listings, just to keep you informed of what's happening with your property? I would say yes to that. So you can set up an auto email to send me active and pending and settled listings, and it would go to my portal, and 7 years from now, when I decide not to live in that house anymore, I'm going to remember you because you've been staying in touch with it. And you guys have all kinds of other KW tools to do that stuff too. So referrals is something you want to keep doing. Being a member of clubs and organizations, of course, you got to be connected. Go where people are. Social media, you know, as much time as you can waste on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Pinterest, there's so many of them. I watch a lot of cat videos on social media, but people are there. If I was in the real estate business, I would have a Facebook business page. You know, we used to have a class, a trend class on how to create a Facebook business page and why you should have a Facebook business page. But ultimately, the reason you should have a Facebook page or any presence on any of these is because people are there. But what we want to talk about today is the idea of creating some type of a proactive, targeted outreach to property owners who are not listed for sale, who may not know that they want to list their house, who may not have any idea of the value of their home, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a listing appointment. So what I'm going to walk you through today is a number of steps. Number one, I'm going to do some targeted searching and some targeted marketing. We're going to go into some areas and try to figure out, you know, who is it that we could possibly go after. We're using public records. And public records, of course, is the database of every property in the county. So we'll go into Bucks County. When you go into Bucks County in public records, it's everything. It's every commercial property, residential property. We know who owns it. We know when they bought it. We know what they paid for it. We know who their mortgage is with. I'm going to look at some public records data with you in a moment, just so you understand exactly what you have. But we're going to go after some specific examples here. We're going to try to find some property owners who have equity. We're going to try to go after investors. Try to find investment properties, because maybe when we want to reach out to somebody that owns an investment property right now and say, hey, how'd you like to ditch your investment property? How'd you like to get rid of it? Well, there's a guy that I work with at Trend, right, Bob Andrus, who's one of our other customer success champions. He works in Delaware, and he lives in Delaware. He had 15 rental properties about a year and a half ago. He's been slowly getting rid of them. He's had it. He's had enough of it. And he was managing them all himself. Of course, that's why he's had enough of it. You know, he was handling every call about the water heater and, hey, we got roaches and the rugs ripped and all that stuff. He got tired of it. Why not reach out to investors and say, hey, how'd you like to get rid of your investment property? Or, hey, we know you own an investment property. How'd you like to buy another one? So there's a lot of ways to twist it around. We're going to target them as well. We can target specific neighborhoods, developments. We can use maps to draw shapes. We can go after property owners. This is a really interesting idea. We're going to go into the MLS and find property renters who are at the end of their lease. Because that's when people start to think about, hey, should we stay in this rental property? Or should we think about buying something? Or should we try to find another rental property? I'll show you that too. And we'll talk about how to twist this all into like potential first-time home buyer leads. So we're going to do the searches, and we're going to try to do some targeted marketing. We're also going to talk about the results. What can you do with the results? You can print mailing labels. You can export the data. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but really those are the main ones. Because if you have a postcard, and really this postcard says everything you want it to say, you really just need to know, well, who do I need to send it to? And maybe you don't want to use a postcard. I'll bring up another idea too. And I'm sure you got a lot of KW stuff that you can use. I know you do, because I've done this class at lots of KW offices. So I will do some Q&A at the end on anything we talk about here or anything else you want to talk about. And by the way, it's going to go pretty quick. Once I show you how this works, you're going to get it pretty quickly. I'm going to show you some basic ways that you can search public records, but what you do and what you do might be completely different. Like you might want to go after investors, you might just want owner-occupied properties where the person's been in there for 20 years or more. There's a lot of ways to do this. Somebody else might want to just go up and down streets and say, give me a mailing label for all these streets that are in the neighborhood that I live, and just go after your neighbors. So there's a lot of ways to do it. So here's a couple of screenshots for you, and then we're going to dive right in and we're going to do it. So you'll go to the search menu inside of Trend, and under Trend, instead of going to that left column, which is all about listings, that column's all about properties that an agent put in based on a listing contract. You're going to go to the one next to it. You've probably been there before, the search menu under public records. So we're going to go into public records and do a search. And the screens kind of look the same as MLS, but they're different because it's different fields. You can search by address, you can search by someone's name, you can search by the property class, which is like the type. It's like the land use code. Just give me residential, or just give me vacant land, or give me commercial properties. Again, it depends what you want to go after. Or you can go in and say, search by the settlement date. This is a really cool feature, by the way. Searching by settlement date lets you search on when they bought that property. So if you wanted to go into Langhorne and say, show me everybody in Langhorne that's been in their house for at least 10 years, because maybe there's more of a chance they would be interested in knowing their property value, you can search settlement date and find those people. And find people who still live in that house. It's crazy. Wait till I show this to you. You're going to all be doing some marketing after this, I guarantee you. You can search by owner-occupied, yes or no, condo, yes or no, corporate-owned, yes or no. By the way, how would we know in public records whether a property is owner-occupied? In the public records database that we bought from Bucks County, and we're keeping up to date, how would we know if somebody really lives there or not? Anybody know?
Mailing address.
Mailing address, that's exactly it. So there's the property address for all these properties, but we also get this mailing address for the owner, which very often is different than the property. So if the mailing address and the property address are different, we would consider it to be non-owner occupied. But if they're exactly the same, it's owner occupied, at least as far as anyone knows. We're not going to have email addresses in here. We also don't have phone numbers. We used to have phone numbers. The do not call list, decimated the database of phone numbers, which is interesting because I think I get more telemarketing calls at my house. We still have a landline because, man, we tried to get rid of the landline. Verizon wanted to up our cost. What a racket that is. But we get so much telemarketing calls. But I think they're just doing this sequential dialing, 2095, 2096, 2097, that kind of thing. So anyway, you can search using all these different parameters, and you can also draw shapes on the map, just like you can in the MLS. So if you've ever drawn a polygon in the MLS, you can do the same thing in public records. Maybe this is a development you want to do business in. You can draw a shape around and say, give me everybody inside that development that owns a house. And not only that, only show me the people in the development that own a house that have been in there for 15 years or more. That's what we're talking about here. Let's go and do this. Sound good so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive in. By the way, I put some pens out for you guys. If you did not all get the official new bright MLS pen, by the way, if you have any of the Trend pens, hang on to those because they're going to be collector's items. But I brought a bunch of pens. I put as many out. A lot of you walked in afterwards. If you walked in afterwards, there's some more up on the table up there. We'll make sure you get them. So let's dive in. I'm going to go right into public records. So we're going to go to the search menu. And under search, we're going to go right to public records search. So remember, that's where you're going to go to do this. Separate database, not the MLS database, the public records database. Once I click on search, it brings me to the search page. And we get a lot of questions, by the way, from people that say, I have trouble finding an address in public records. Let's do an address search. Somebody blurt out an address anywhere around here.
3824 Bedwood.
You win. 3824, what's your name?
Ken.
Hey, Ken. 3824 was the house number, street was?
Bedwood.
Redwood. So I can just type in 3824 in the house number, REDW, just do a starts with search. You can see the system has already found 2 properties that match because there might be 2 redwoods, but if I finish typing the rest of it, we're still down to 2. So there's obviously more than one 3824 redwood in all the counties that we do public record. Is this in Bucks County?
Yeah.
So I can just go right to the results right now, or I can just go to county and type in BUCK, and we're down to the 1 match. That's a simple address search, guys. This street name up here is a starts with field. So what if I wanted to see everything on the 3800 block of Redwood? I could go in here and just say 3800-3899 on Redwood and see all 11 properties on that block. So let's go out and look at the list here. Of course, we know these tabs up at the top. You should all know this stuff. the tabs work together. So when we go from the criteria tab to the map tab, it's going to show me the 3800 block of Redwood. You know this area really well. It's just around your house? Your neighborhood? Do you have a listing there? Or?
It's our first house we ever bought.
Yeah, cool. So there's the block. Fleetwood is the next block over. Charter Court is close by. If I go to the results tab, here's the list of the properties on that block. So I want to show you what the public records data really looks like before we do a couple of these searches. Matter of fact, I'm going to change, well, what was the address again? 3824. So if I go down here to 3824 and just click on that tax ID, it brings me over to a report called the 360 report. You know, it started me off on that one-line report, but when you hit this little drop down here, you know, you got a one-line report. That's kind of like if you're in the MLS and you're looking at the member one line versus the client one line, or the member one line versus the member full on MLS. You got the same thing in public records. You got a one-line report, but you also got this one called the 360 property view report that gives you all kinds of information about the property. That's what we're on now. So here's the public records entry for this one. So I can see that Christopher and Catherine Axt own this property now. They live at 3824 Redwood. That their owner address is the same as the property, so we consider this to be owner occupied. Below that, it's in Feasterville. You can see it's in Bucks County. All the information we got from the county, the tax year, the assessment, the annual taxes, the building characteristics, the square footage, the number of bedrooms, anything we can get from the county is here. So if I scroll to the top here, there's a series of tabs along the top. So, you know, it's called the 360 report. So kind of like 360, tell me everything we know about this one property. So tax history, this is another piece of information. Where have the taxes been over the years on this property? Really cool information to know. Back in 2003, like when did you sell this place?
2003.
2003. So when you owned this property, the taxes were $1,546. They are now $2,219 a year. So you can see how they went up. And you can also tell like what went up. Like the school taxes went up. They were $187, now they're $218. The no, this is the school tax. I'm sorry. So $1177. They went up by $600 over 13, 14 years. And the county tax has gone up a little bit as well. So we're just going through these sale and mortgage. We're about to see you in here. So you go down here and you can see that there was a nominal date and a deed recording here in 3 of 2013. So something happened with the name. Yeah, it was probably some kind of refi. They changed something on the name because I can see back when they originally bought this property, Chris and Catherine. Oh, they weren't married, so they bought it separately. So Chris Axt and Catherine Cordisco bought the property together. But then they got married and they changed her name to Christopher and Catherine Axt. So that's why the nominal deed, dollar transfer kind of thing. And while they've owned the property, they did some mortgage activity. I can see that when they first bought it, they bought it in 2009. They took a mortgage out for $255, $290 was FHA. Then they went out in 2013, they refied it again. Then they went out in 2016 and refied it again because the rates kept going down, right? So we can see what's going on. Really helpful information, by the way, when you walk into a listing appointment to know this when you walk in there. A little further down, I can see previous information. So there's you, Ken. So Ken and Carol Lee, you guys bought it in '98, right? And you sold it in 2004 to Andrea and Enrique Arizmendi. I always pick a name I can't pronounce. So it's amazing kind of the history that you have in here. The next tab over at the top is a flood report. Tells you whether it's in a flood zone. X means it's not in a flood zone. Most recent listing. This is the last time this listing was in trend. So it was in here as settled for $260. So this is the last time it sold. You know this house really well. And then over here in the history, this shows you everything we've been keeping track of while we've been in the MLS here. So a lot of information. Every time the price was reduced, how many days on market, every single time. If there was a listing in here that didn't work out and it expired or was withdrawn, you can see everything. So anyway, that's a real quick, dirty look here at the MLS itself, or I'm sorry, at the public records data itself. Let's go back to this one-line report, and let's go back to criteria, and let's build a search. Let's build a search to find people that we might want to talk to about listing their house with us, about trying to get a listing appointment. So let's go into the area where you are. What town were you in there, Ken?
Trevose.
You're in Trevose. So I'm gonna get rid of the stuff that's on here now, so I don't need the street here anymore. So now I'm up to 5,000 matches because it's looking at everything. I didn't put anything in here yet. But let's go into municipality, and I'll go into Trevos. I think it's in here as
Municipalities, Ben Sam.
Ben Salem, okay. So there's a number of ways I can do this. I could go into, zip code. That's another way of getting it. What zip code was the property?
19053.
So 19053 is another way I could do it. You could use, so in 19053, there's 5,000 matches. If I wanted to go into let's say Ben Salem, I could just type in BENS, there's Ben Salem. If I wanted to go after Ben Salem, or let's say I wanted to go into Warminster and Warrington, I could just start typing them. So geographically, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm going to choose to just start off by putting in your zip code, but I'm going to drill even further in using a map shape in a moment. So 19053 is where we're going to search. You can also search by neighborhood names, school district, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you want to go after listings in a school district where you know there's not enough properties, like if you knew that Council Rock doesn't have enough listings and you want to target Council Rock because you know you have a lot of buyers that want to go there, you can just go to the school district and type in COUNC, and there's Council Rock, Bucks County. That's another way of doing it. So I'm going to say in your 19053, I took out Warminster there. I'm going to scroll down a little further. And again, the fields are a little different than maybe you're used to because you haven't seen this before. I'm going to go into this field called property class, which is about the land use codes. And we're going to do a roll-up here of just all the residential land use codes. So for this example, I only want residential properties. I'm going to get more specific, and maybe even for my particular search right now, I only want single detached properties. Maybe that's what I'm looking to list. So I go into that area. Now I'm down to 4077, so we're still over 4,000 records here. Let's start to get more and more specific. Owner occupied, yes. We know what that means now, right? It means property address, owner's address, same exact address. So that narrows it down to 3796. I'm going to say I don't want condos. I'm going to say I don't want corporate-owned properties either, meaning don't give me a property where Inc. Corp. LLC is part of the owner name, because that can really scream investor. So it's down to 3771. Let's get even more specific with this settlement date. Watch how this one works, and watch how it narrows down the list. So, Ken, if you were going to go after listings in this area, how long would you want the person to have been in the property? Like, you don't want to talk to somebody who just bought their house last year, right? Or 2 years ago. They probably don't care. 7 years. How many? 10. So I'm going to go with what Ken. Everybody has a different idea, right? That's why all of these are going to be different. So the way I would do this is I would put in a date range and make the high date range 10 years ago. So I'm going to go in here and say, show me anybody that bought in this area between 1/1 of, let's say, 1980, dash, high date. I'm going to make the high date 10 years ago. So what's today? 10/18? I'm going to say 10/18. 10 years ago would be 2007. So you get the idea here. So when I go in here with that date range, only give me people that bought during that period of time. And when I make the high date 2007, that's 10 years ago, we always default with the results in here to somebody that bought during that price range, that date range, that still owns the property. So if somebody sold the property in 2005 or 2010 to somebody else, they're not going to be on this list anymore. They have to still own the property they bought it during that time period. So, and we're still at 2,045 matches. That's ridiculous. You can get more specific here with bathrooms, bedrooms, all that kind of stuff. You can get into anything you want. You can search anything you want. But let's go back to the map here. When I go to the map, it's going to try to show me those properties. And of course, I can't see them all because it's just too vast of a list. I mean, we did 19053. Let me actually turn on a layer for zip code here. I don't know if you guys knew you could do this. You can hit that layers button and say, turn on the zip code layer to show me 19053. So I can see the 19053 covers actually Lower Southampton, Woodland, Oakford, Trevos, Feasterville. So all these listings are going to be right inside here that we just found. But what if you really care about, let's say, this area over here near Oakford? Maybe what you really care is all this area right over here, let's say above Bristol Road and below, what is that? I don't know what street that is, but The point is, if you wanted to get specific with the geographic area, you could do that by going on the map, and I'm hitting the plus and the minus button here, sorry guys, it's making you dizzy. I'm trying to get right inside here. What if this is the area you care about? I can go up to this tool up here at the top called Polygon, and when I click on it, it brings me into that mode where I can draw an irregular shape. Click, let go, click, let go, click, let go. So I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna click over here, I'm gonna let go, I'm drawing a line. Every time I'm gonna change directions, I'm gonna click again, click. Follow Bristol Road, follow it over to here, I'm gonna follow the zip code right up to here. And maybe I'm trying to stay right below that street, I'm trying to get back to the red dot. Once I get back to the red dot, here are all the properties inside here that are owner occupied, and they've been in there for at least 10 years. How many are inside this shape? 115. I saw some people trying to count the flags, that's really hard to do. Here's the number right there, 115. There's 115 people in here that we could go after. So, if I go over to results, so everybody understand what we did so far? Okay, so we put a search together, they gotta be in there 10 years or more, owner occupied, yes. And when I go over to the map, here's where they are. If I go to results, here's the list. So now how can I do something with this list? And by the way, let's look at one of them. If I look at, let's say, Haynes Avenue. I'm just looking on the tax ID. Why did we find this? Well, the address is 1217 Haynes Avenue. The owner, Thomas and Jennifer here, their address is 1217 Haynes Avenue. Owner occupied, right? Same address. I look further down here at the settle date. They bought this place in '93. They still own it. They paid $55,000 for this place in '93. I guarantee it's more than $55,000. You guys know this area. So the point is, if I go back up here to this one-line report and I tag the listings, so you guys know that when you tag listings in here, we know you want to do something with it, right? So I go up here and I tag all the listings. I can either hit this little checkbox right here. That'll just tag what's on the page. This is only tagging the first 50 of them. The system calls them checked. We always call them tag, so I'm using tag, but check is the same thing. I'm going to check them all off. Once I check them, I've selected them, I want something. I have a postcard. I want to put a mailing label on this thing and say something like, hey, how would you like to know your home's market value? How would you like a free competitive market analysis? Whatever you want to say. Come down to the bottom here under this actions menu, go to print. When I click on print, one of the things that's in here that you can print is a mailing label. The 5160 label, which is the standard label, 30 to a page, 3 rows of 10. I'm going to say put the owner's property address on here. I know all these are owner occupied. I want to send them to the property. And I click down here, print to PDF. Watch what happens. It only takes a couple of seconds. The system immediately creates a set of mailing labels. That is crazy. So the one for Feasterville-Trevose always it gets a little bit bigger because it's such a big town name. Feasterville-Trevose, so it can't fit them all on there. So it does fit them all on here, but you'll have that extra line. Then the key here is this opens up an Adobe Reader. You have to now print these out. You can also save them. If you come up here to the Adobe Reader function, up at the upper right here, you can choose download and it'll let you save that PDF. Or you can just use the print icon right next to it, click on that, and the system will ask you, well, what printer do you want to send it to? And now you have to figure out the hard part, which is getting the labels in the printer the right way. Yeah, if you have ever printed on the shiny side, I've done it, that's bad. Yeah, it's a big mess, by the way. So you're going to want to take care of that. But the idea here is that every one of these people have been in their home for at least 10 years. If you can get one of them to say, yes, I would like to know my home's market value, you now have a listing appointment. And now you got to do the other stuff, right? Now you got to knock it out of the park with your CMA and all of that. So that's the idea here. Everybody understand what we just did? Anybody have any questions? Okay.
I guess one more thing to mention too, if somebody's on the do not mail list, then they don't come up on your sheet.
That's a great point. So the point that Ken is making is exactly correct, and that is when you choose to print a mailing label, this mailing label that we just put together, we have automatically suppressed anyone that's on the do not mail list. So there is a do not mail list. If you're not aware of it, there is a do not mail list. There's a do not everything list. So this do not mail list, we won't let you print a label for it. But if you export the data, because you may want to do that, you may want to take this information and instead of printing a label, you might want to take it and put it in a file. So that's another thing you can do here. I can tag them all, back to that same list we had. Come down to the bottom, instead of going to under the actions menu to print, I can choose export. when I click on export, it's gonna ask you, what do you want here, what version? You know, the public records complete is gonna give you every field, you don't want that one. The one you're gonna want for marketing is name and address. And you click on the name and address, it's gonna give you all the fields you need to be able to do some kind of marketing. And when you click on export, it just takes a couple of seconds. I'm in Chrome right now, so it's sending it right down here. When I open this thing up, my system will automatically default to open this thing up in Excel. So there's all the data. And the point is, when you export the data, we are not going to suppress the do not mail. There is a field here called property do not mail. And the ones that say no, that means you can mail them. But if it says yes, like this one right here, this property, yes, they're on the do not mail list. You're not going to want to mail them. So if you export the data, make sure you go through these and get rid of the ones where it says do not mail yes. Questions about that? Yeah. And I know there's a question back there too.
Is there still a limit on the number of addresses that you can print?
There used to be. I think you can print as many as you want. In this system, you can't export more than 5,000 records a month. Which 5,000 records a month? Wow, no one exports 5,000 records a month. So that's plenty. Even if you wanted to cover all of Bucks County, like over the course of a couple of months, you know, I don't know how many properties there are in Bucks County. I think there's over 300,000, but technically you could export every record. But why would you want it on your hard drive when you can just go in here anytime you want to do it and just grab them and print a label or whatever? I think you were next, yeah, and I'll take yours.
Two questions. One, it says do not mail, and it's a yes. Does that mean they get it to the post office box, or what does that mean?
It just means they don't want to be mailed by a company that's marketing for anything. They don't want to receive junk mail, which I can't even imagine this do not mail list works. Everyone gets so much crap in the mail.
I'm on it.
You're on it. Do you get a lot of stuff?
Yeah.
No?
Yep.
You
Yep.
do?
Still get a lot.
This do not mail list, just like the do not call list, it's a bunch of bogus stuff. I don't know. You can go on the do not mail list. The point is, if you willingly mail someone that's on the do not mail list, you could potentially get in trouble. The chances of that happening, who's the mail police, the post office gonna come in? Excuse me, you know, we're gonna cuff you and take you out, no way. Your second question?
Second question is for bulk mail, if we need to modify the person's name, we need to add something at the end. To do that would be through exporting and then adding, right?
You would export it and you'd have to go into the spreadsheet and do a concatenate or something to add another like field on there. But all this data is CAS certified and all of that. So if you want to do large bulk mail, you can do it. You know, you can also walk through this neighborhood, by the way, and walk around and hand stuff out. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let me take this other question.
Phone numbers?
Phone numbers, no. We used to have at one point probably 80% of all the owner-occupied residential property phone numbers. We don't have them anymore because of the do not mail list. So let me talk about one other thing here. Before we do another search, everyone understands what we did. I'm going to start to mess with this search a little bit and change it around because it's really easy to change it around and get a completely different set of data. Matter of fact, let me just do it right now and show you one thing. Remember down here we said residential, single detached, owner-occupied yes? Let's change that to owner-occupied no. Let's get rid of the corporate-owned no here because I don't really care about corporate-owned anymore. Owner-occupied no, that one change now gives me investors, right? Now I'm down to 6 properties inside that shape. These are investors. So when we go out and look at these, if I go out and look at the results, and I click on one of these, this property on Wood Road, why did we find it? Well, the property itself is 1140 Wood Road. It is owned by Thomas and Elizabeth, but they live on 57 Limekiln Drive in Andreas, PA, wherever that is. And the point is, this is an investment property for them. So maybe they're thinking about getting rid of that, or maybe buying another one. So the idea here is you could go in and take this list of properties, print out a mailing label, and if let's say I tag these and I go down here and I choose print, I could say send these to the owner's mailing address. Put the owner's mailing address, not the property address, wherever that tax bill gets sent. And that is updated, like I think it's once a year with the new tax billing address if they have one. And basically send to where they live. And by the way, if the property itself is non-owner occupied, if the owner doesn't live there, and they live somewhere else, but they have this rental property, who's in that property? A renter, a tenant. Couldn't you also take this group of 6 people here and send something to the property, to the current resident? That's another mailing label you can print too. And say, hey, we're having a home buyer seminar here in this gigantic room where somebody from the lending industry, the title industry, credit repair people are gonna come in here. We're having a seminar, how'd you like to come out? Maybe you don't realize this is a great time to buy. Wait, if you're a tenant and you don't know this is a great time to buy, somebody needs to tell it to you, because this is maybe the greatest time. Over the last few years, it's been the greatest time to buy real estate ever in the history of real estate. The interest rates. The problem is the availability of properties right now. It's a challenge. So anyway, I showed you kind of 2 or the 3 things, but maybe you're wondering, like, maybe I don't have a postcard that I really like. Maybe I don't have something that I really, that really says what I want to say. Well, you guys heard of Vistaprint, right? So Vistaprint does commercials on all of the major stations. I go out to Vistaprint, go under marketing materials. We have nothing to do with this company, by the way. I just noticed there's really cool stuff on here. If you go to marketing materials, under marketing materials, there's a section here called brochures, flyers, postcard. Let's go to postcards for a moment. And scroll down a little bit. What do you want to do? Look at their designs, our designs. Let's browse what they have. So browse our designs. What size postcard do you want, Mike? I want to say, show me 5 by 7. Click continue. And then when I scroll down a little bit here, I'll see that there's a section here on the side called industry, arts and entertainment, construction, real estate. That's us, right? Click on that. Here's a bunch of real estate postcards. Just sold, just listed, headline. This can say whatever you want. This one here says, thinking of selling. That could work, right? So you get your face on this thing, your logo on this thing, and you send this to the right group of people. I guarantee you, you're going to have success with this, because I've been teaching this thing for a long time, and I have agents telling me all the time, I'm like that class. And this is Real Estate 101, by the way, guys. This is old school stuff. The #1 agent in trend, Mike McCann, who works at Berkshire Hathaway down on Walnut Street in Philly. He's a friend of mine. I've known him forever. He does this all the time, and he's got a gigantic team, by the way. So he's got his team doing these mailings constantly, and there's constantly business coming in. So it's, again, you don't want to change what you're doing already. Sphere of influence, clubs and organizations, social media. But if you're not doing some part of your business that's this, then you're missing out on some listings that you could be getting. And all it takes is taking action. And maybe you don't want to spend the money on postage. If you go to, thinking of selling postcard here, if you go to Vistaprint, they also have door hangers. So there's the same thinking of selling. This one here says thinking of buying or selling. You can take these things and walk around a neighborhood and just walk around. I mean, pick a neighborhood, and it's something that you could do on an afternoon and walk through that neighborhood and put them on the doors of the properties that match your list. Walk around with that list that you have. And you get a little bit of exercise on a beautiful day like today, walking around. You could do it in, the development we were talking about here. If we go back over here to the list that we had, and go back to the map, I mean, these 6 properties, here's where they all are. I could easily walk through here probably in 15, 20 minutes. Or just drive around and stop at each property. If I didn't have the owner-occupied investors, and I had the 171, it would take a little bit longer, but while you're out there, somebody's gonna say, hey, who are you? I'm a real estate agent. We have buyers that are looking in your development, we don't have enough listing. It's gonna turn into something, I guarantee you. So, let's go back to the criteria for a moment, and let's change this up a little bit. I'm gonna go to results, go to criteria, and I'm gonna change, we'll really just talk about the idea here that this is all up to you. Remember, we went in here with this time period. We went in here and said owner-occupied no. We understand what owner-occupied yes means. You can also go in here and use fields like square footage, number of bedrooms. If you go in here with a different category entirely, if you want to go after duplexes and triplexes and stuff, they're in the category here called apartment. So that's where duplex, triplex is. So, the results just keep changing here. Condo, no. Owner-occupied, yes. There are no owner-occupied apartments. But if I get rid of that owner-occupied, I should have some now, because most apartment, some type of multifamily are not owner-occupied. I still don't have any results for that one, but you get the idea. There's a lot of ways to put this thing together. I want to show you one other thing here that's outside of public records for a moment, and then take any other questions you have about this, because I really think that you're all going to use this in a little different way. Somebody here might want to go after not single detached. By the way, you get something in one of these scrolling boxes here, you click out of it, how do I get rid of this? You notice how to get rid of it?
Control and
Yeah, control click. So I hit control and click, and that deselects it. That's a big call to the support center, by the way, too. I just saved you a call to the support center. You've done that? That's what most people do. They hit the back button, it's like, bag this, I'm gonna start completely over. Good. We helped at least one person there. Thanks. So, what I'm gonna do is I wanna go out here to the search menu and leave public records for a moment and go into the residential rentals category. So I'm in the residential rentals category because I want to try to find property, I want to try to find people who rented a property this time last year who are coming up on the anniversary of their lease. And it's a pretty simple concept, think about it. If I could find everybody in, let's say, Langhorne, Ben Salem, Lower Makefield, who rented a property last year in, let's say, November, December, or January, those people are coming up on the anniversary of their lease, right? At the anniversary of a lease, a lot of people think, hey, should we stay here? Should we re-up, go month to month? Should we think about buying a house? Should we find another rental? This can be a source of business for you too. So let's go into the MLS. Remember where we are here. Search residential rentals. I'm going to go in here. Most of the time you come into rentals, you're looking for active rentals. I'm not looking for active rentals. I want to say, show me settled rentals in, let's say, November or December of last year. So I'm going to say 11/1/17-12/31/17. A 16. Holy smokes, that's a big difference there. We want to find people that rented last year, right? 11/1/17 hasn't even happened yet, so thank you for that. So I'm going to say even 12/31. I'll even go through the end of January. So 1/31/17. Everybody understand what I did there? Yeah, I missed my slash, thank you. So show me somebody that was a settled rental sometime during that time period, and I still haven't screwed up. Now it's right. 4,042 rentals happen in Trend, anywhere in Trend, but where I want to go is, let's say Lower Makefield, let's say Warminster, Ben Salem, Langhorne. You get the idea. There are 35 properties in here that rented this time last year. If you go out here to the map, here's where they all are. They're all over Bucks County. But the point is, if you go to results, here are the addresses. If you reach out to these addresses, there's no way to print a mailing label from MLS, but you can export the data very easily. You can go out, or you can even just print this list out. And over the course of an afternoon, you could visit all 35 of these properties and put something on the door and say, hey, potential first-time home buyer, have you thought about renting? Keep in mind, the people that are in that house, they're about to come up on the anniversary of their lease. They're thinking about what they want to do next. If you get them at the right time, you might get a buyer here. That's a really cool idea. This idea was developed inside of Trend with our account.